Hello there, ladies, gentlemen and unicorns. I hope you can hear me because again I haven't tested my setup before going live because I feel this is just how I roll, and most of the time I roll with some kind of technical difficulties. But I spent 1 hour preparing and I just realized I didn't test my audio. So hello everyone, wonderful of you to drop by on this mellow Sunday evening. I hope you got something to drink or something to chill with. I got here a very special kind of mug. Look at this, it's the magic of the unicorn mug. Yeah, my wife dropped one of my kitten espresso cups, and yeah, she tried to make up for it by ordering 2 mugs and 2 more espresso cups in the hopes that there was something among those that I would like. And wouldn't you know it, I enjoy all 4 of them. So I'll be having coffee from my unicorn mug, so to celebrate the occasion. And as always, I have also a glass of water because it's healthy and good to stay hydrated, because we all know, especially when we're spending long time in front of the computer doing coding stuff or playing games or anything, you really forget to eat and you forget to drink. And look at this. Oh, I wish I could show you. It's a beautiful sunset out there. The sun is painting just the underside of the clouds red, but it's almost gone. What a bummer. Anyway, thank you so much for dropping by. As you probably know, my latest YouTube video went live on Friday, and as always it was a lot of work, much more work than anticipated. From my intention, it was more or less just cut together all my failed attempts at beating the racing mission in Mafia. And I thought I need a little bit of introduction of what the time and the games were at back in 2002 and what the competition was, and do a little bit of introduction and lead up to the race, and then like summary. And yeah, as it turns out, it's 21 minutes now, and it took a lot of time to get done. So again, thank you so much for dropping by. I hope you're interested in all this, because I'll be going more or less step by step through the edit. Well, not each single one, of course, but just the broad segments, and give you a look behind the scenes in what it all took to get to produce a YouTube video, as it usually is the case with me. That was way ahead, out of proportion, and way way too big for what it was. But this, like I said, this is how I roll. This is how things are fun. Let's switch over to the screen. And this is already here the edit in Premiere. And let's zoom out. I hope my computer can keep up with streaming and both showing what's going on there. And oh look, it's VRG Lab. Hello there, cheers. So yeah, this is the edit, the green things. Everything that I'm marking right now is just audio, so there's more to the audio than usual. And everything on top here is video. But we will get to this in a bit. Maybe I thought you might be interested in how long it took me, the entire thing. And I have here my time tracker. And look at this, it's almost 200 hours that I spent on the latest video. So what took so long with this video? If you've watched it, you might be wondering. The thing is, what's titled here under the task that is called Post VFX and Compositing, with 113, well, almost 114 hours. Yeah, this was the entire computer generated graphics, intro and outro. Essentially, I did a bit of the modeling. Well, for the computer I did most of the modeling and shading and lighting and of course rendering. And yeah, the modeling, especially of keyboard and mouse and the computer screen, yeah, it really took a long time. But it's been a while since I really sat in front of the computer, where my main goal was just to model something that looks photorealistic-y. So yeah, this was more or less a learning experience for me. So yeah, this was what took the longest, and the second longest was, of course, well, let's close this here. The second longest was, of course, with 35.75 hours was editing. Yeah, the edit usually takes the most time. And you can also see it here in a nice bar chart. Yeah, everything is non-billable because in this time tracker that I have here, I could also enter an amount or a budget per project, but it's just, you know, for a YouTube project. So I don't have a budget. It's only how many hours of my life I want to spend with a certain project. And turns out apparently it's, 200 in the latest case. So yeah, with the bar chart, you can see here, the post in VFX is sticking out here, but VFX, it's also motion graphics and those minor things, but those just a couple of dozen hours. So it doesn't really factor in that much. Sorcerer said, I only realized you were streaming because of Twitter. I forgot. Oh, this is why I post on Twitter. Thank you so much for making time to drop by. It's very much appreciated. The second one, as I said, was editing, and then it's motion graphics. Oh, okay, I don't have motion graphics there with compositing piled together. And the rest is music making, which we will get also into, and copying and data wrangling. It's just 4 hours, so I didn't. This is only the time that I was setting up some copying scripts and syncing stuff and manually dragging files around, because I think that would be more than just 4 hours. And research, 9 hours. 9.5 hours was spent with research, and this research usually meant, in this case of this video, this was just games from the early 90s, late 90s, early 2000s. And script writing, it doesn't seem like it would take long to write a script for just 21 minutes, but with me, I always have passes where I just write one draft and then go over it and over it and over it, and then after 7.8 hours, I think it's okay that I can do some voice recording, because my process is as follows. I think I've mentioned this before. That is, first I start with the idea that I want to do. Well, most of the time you start with the idea, duh. Then it's script writing, and this is the voiceover script essentially that I write. But first I write just everything down that comes to my mind, and then start to structure things with the following passes, and then insert some things where I thought, this visual cues, for example, a screen of this. You know what? If you're interested, I can even show you, just go quickly over my script for this video. Let me just find it there. What is this timer thingy? The timer thingy in the beginning, you mean, of the stream? Or the timer? I think I have here the one mission timer. You're probably not talking about the mission timer, aren't you? Where was I? Right, just quickly the script. I have it here, as a wonderful PDF there, written in Google Docs. So you can see here, there where I just insert the word clips and title, which I didn't use the title because I realized that title was of course on YouTube anyway, so you already know. And then I just got here attempt number 1, attempt number 2, and some indented text and so on and so forth. So apparently it really took me 8 hours to write from start to finish, but I don't think even that this was the very final version, because I recall having a little bit more stuff in it than is actually there. Okay, so the edit. For those of you who are unfamiliar with video editing software, just a very quick overview. On the left side here, at least in this layout here, I have my bins where those are all my sources that I have here sorted. For example, video sources, live action. I don't have any live action stuff in here. I haven't filmed anything with my camera for this one here. Then the next panel here is where I usually have my effect controls, when this is just a little timeline for effects, or the audio track mixer where I can just have a look at the individual audio channels. This is the sources window. This is when you want to edit something. Of course, you want to say, this is my in point, this is my out point, and then put it into the edit. And this big window that's black right here is what is currently in the edit. And of course, down here we have the timeline. There's this break between audio tracks. So from here, from the middle, the audio tracks extend downwards, while in the other direction, the video stack essentially grows upwards. This has always been, I think, with Premiere And yeah, this is just something that you have to get used to because you can't mix video and audio tracks. Okay, VRG Lab says no. So apparently I'm not quite sure to which of my questions you said no. So yeah, you were curious about the timer thingy. And if you're talking about the timer that was in front of this stream, yeah, this is just a video rendered from After Effects that runs down for 4 minutes. And after 4 minutes, I just keep looking at my OBS. And once it's done, I hit scene change and here we are. Okay, so the edit, as you've probably seen, it starts here with this very slow zoom into this monitor that reads Unicron, and it's a Pony monitor. And yeah, this was one of the two scenes. Oh yeah, of course, as always. In the beginning, I thought I start with this kind of little short vanity plate intro. And yeah, this is just a video that I rendered with After Effects with sound. It was a project by itself a couple of months back, but now I can just use it as is, throw it over there. It has an alpha channel, so nothing really hard to do there. So yeah, this thing here, when we were starting with this introduction of the year 2002, this was, yeah, rendered in CG. Disclaimer, of course, I didn't model all the things here. I also did some streams a couple of weeks back, which are archived on YouTube, for those of you who don't know. So if you're curious about, yeah, how I made some of this CG things there and what my process was there, that was covered in one of my streams. So this is why I'm going to go over these segments very shortly. So yeah, I modeled some of these things. The biggest part was lighting, shading, and texturing, because the models, for example, this screen here, this I bought for I think $10-12 on TurboSquid, but had to, yeah, adjust the shading because it was not for the Arnold renderer that I'm using. So I had to do the shading and texturing. Same thing there for the PlayStation 2. I also bought this, I think, for $10, and the way they textured it, whoever it was completely counterintuitive to how I would do things usually. So yeah, everything was, it had like dozens of small little textures just laid over in the places where they would be, instead of having one texture for the entire thing, for example. So yeah, it took me a lot of cleanups, and the rest was just lighting and trying to keep the rendering times down. And I rendered the background individually in passes, where I'd only have a background pass that has everything in it but what's being displayed on the TV screen. And then on top I have a separate rendering of just the reflection, so whatever I can put into the TV screen, which I did in After Effects. So anything that I would put there would still have this nice reflection there. So at least this worked here for this beginning introduction with the 1990s, I want to say, but it's early 2000s living room. And if you wonder why this very specific selection of DVDs, I found an old photo of mine of the DVDs that I was watching in 2002, and those were the ones that I think I at the time I was watching. So yeah, this is the entire reason. And now, as you can see here, what's happening here, I am just having here some music fade in, and the living room. This is, for example, this track is called Living Room, the entire track, not just those clips, because I'm running effects on this entire lane here throughout the edit, and it's called Living Room because it has a bit of it should sound like you're watching this in a living room, so it has some light reverberation there. The TV audio is not as high fidelity as HD audio usually is, because it's coming, or supposed to be coming, from this small speaker and so on. And you might, if you have a very good ears or good hearing, you might hear this 15,625 hertz tone. If I play it back, you probably won't hear it because I turned down the volume.
The two parties cannot agree on.
Yeah, this is because of the old CRT monitors. They made their images by an electron beam that would go down with each frame all the lines and then back up, and the frequency at this you could hear actually, and yeah, if you have good ears you could still hear it, and this is why I added it also in here, because I want to go all the way. And I think one person commented on YouTube that they heard this high-pitched whine. So yeah, this was the screen in the living room, and this one here, I'm very proud of this scene here, because you might, I want to show you my inspiration for this scene. If I can find it, let me Google wallpaper Amiga computer Canon fodder. Yes, look at this. I was lucky the first time. Error 523. This is new. Let me see if I can find another image on Google. Sorry for that. 80s wallpapers, this one is called. Man, with wallpaper sites, it's incredibly hard to just get an image without any kind of pop-ups and so on. Okay, so this is not the biggest image, but here we go. So this is just someone that also went all the way in with recreating this 1980s Amiga experience there with the Canon fodder game, and you can see here those little army men just escaping from the computer. And yeah, and back here you got all the packaging materials, reading stuff, posters from the 80s, and so on and so forth. So this is just a lovely image to, if you're to just view it with nostalgia and see how much actually there is in it. And yeah, I tried to do something similar with this one here, and yeah, modeled pretty much the most of the things. I actually had someone convert a Studio Max model of an old computer from 2002 for me, but in the end I realized that it wasn't high quality enough, so essentially I just redid the entire thing. The only things that I didn't model are, for one thing here, this desk planner here. I mean, I shaded and textured it, of course, and the other thing that I did not make is this lamp here. And I realized that once I thought, yeah, in college I think I had the same lamp, and turns out the lamp that I have here on my on my desk, it is the lamp that I had in college. So I wasn't aware that actually I'm still having this exact lamp there. Yeah, and if you've watched the video, you know it's just a very, very simple pan into it, but there I couldn't do the rendering or separate the rendering in terms of what's visible on the screen and what you see, or essentially I had to render everything in one pass that it worked, because if you can see here, there is this reflection of what's on the screen going on here on the monitor bounce. You can barely see it here. There it is more easier to spot, and because of this I had to have the animation, everything, the entire timing set up and perfectly done before doing the rendering, because even on my huge Threadripper 24 cores, it took like 3 to 4 minutes to render one frame there. And I also made a mistake there where I messed up the texture of the calendar, where this image there was occluding 1, 2, 3. So someone on Twitter said when I shared the image, interesting, the August in 2002 started on a 4th. So I realized, yeah, I had to render the frames that I already had rendered up to that point. I had to do them again, or at least in the calendar. So yeah, I'm very proud of how this turned out. And yeah, it was, like I said, it was way too much time spent on doing the CG and rendering stuff, but I just thought it would be very neat that you start here with this look. Yeah, this is probably how someone's living room looked in the 2000s, and all this barrage essentially of early 2000s pop culture. And then we go into your gaming den where yeah, you still had those old speakers probably, and then we are sucked into the computer, and there we are here at the intro animation, at the logo animation from Illusion Softworks. And I see a lot happening there in the chat. Again, I'm sorry for neglecting it. And the Mothership says good evening, and good evening chat, and I only can say good evening to everyone who's still here. Wonderful, thank you so much. I will have a sip of my unicorn mug while I catch up with the chat. did he say if the video is edited in post? Yes, I did say it, and not for the, like I mentioned here, not on this computer, but here the video was edited in post, because at the very end, let me just scroll to the end of my edit, I could just play the animation backwards and had just a different content on screen, so I didn't have to re-render everything. I could just sped it up slightly so that I could use what I already had. Also, the color scheme is warm and comforting. Yes, this was actually a little bit harder to achieve. Also here I wanted this very friendly afternoon light, but not too much, so the glare on the TV, I mean, of those of us who played or watched TV in a very friendly sunlit afternoon living room, you didn't see much on the screen because it was reflecting everything, the whole surroundings, and I tried to find a good balance between it's friendly and you still get some reflections of the room in the background, but not too much that it's distracting. And here with the light, I also wanted this computer den, in a sense, where it's only the desk lamp that's doing the lighting, and then I realized, it's a little bit dull. So the next thing I added was, you can see here this red glow here. I think we also have this shared experience of having those power strips with those big red switches that would be glowing all the time and pretty brightly. And this is also here, I added a light back here that's just red to emphasize also this little LED here. I think was it already a LED? Yeah, I think it was. And then I realized, it's still a bit too dark and too dim, and so I went for a blue light, because it's on the contrasting on the opposite side of this warm yellow. So it's a complementary color, and as if maybe there's some evening light through a window shining in here, maybe there's another screen shining here, anything, at least we can't tell, but it's doesn't look out of place, but it also gives it a nice balance and contrast. So I'm glad you noticed this. This is wonderful. Thank you. So we are here on the monitor. The other thing that I had a lot of fun with was this task switching animation. This was also, I mean, the entire sequence with the switching, this was done, of course, in After Effects, because I don't think many of us had powerful computers that would run 4 games concurrently and then some programs. And I just, one thing that was funny was getting the icons of this. For example, for those of you who don't know, this is ICQ, Winamp, and Napster, the first peer-to-peer file sharing program, and I thought, as nice little throwbacks to the time back then, that I would have those there in this task switching menu. And like I said, it was not too easy getting those original icons. In the end, I even installed a version of ICQ just to get the exe file from which I could extract out the original icon file. And also this task menu, of course, looked differently than it does nowadays. When I switch here, it looks like this, of course. So I just fired it up in my virtual Windows 95 machine, and in Windows 95, in this virtual machine, I did those text labels and then copied them all together. So so those of you who have this, who have lived through the early 2002s, you might recognize some of those icons, even if it's just in passing while this is switching over very quickly. So if it does, then it makes me very happy. This sequence here, the intro animation of Mafia, you can see it looks very good. Especially for the time being, when most of the studios just had crappy little rendered videos, but it wasn't HD. So what I did, I denoised what was there, then ran it through an AI neural network upscaler, did some very minor color grading, and reapplied some film grain and little dirts and specks there, that it looks like it was filmed on film, because this was the intention, I think, with this video. And this, then of course the Mafia logo, which I redrew in Illustrator because I didn't find a nice HD version of the Mafia logo. ICQ is such a nostalgia thing, I read in the chat, and installing ICQ in 2020 sounds like a great way to get the Russian Trojan horse. I think I have one, because I also installed Napster, or tried to install Napster, and I thought, oh my god, I think I'm opening a can of worms here. So yeah, I installed ICQ but never launched it, and then uninstalled it right away, and I think I even messed around in the registry just to make sure that it's really gone, as far as if it's gone. So if not, if my new Russian let's say gaming buddy, hacking buddy chimes in, then we all know that yeah, it's Sergey who enjoys enjoys the backdoor I installed in my computer. Okay, then of course is GTA 3 footage. So I installed GTA 3 and yeah, just drove around a little bit. And you know what was funny about this? The cars are so incredibly fast. I played, yeah, for 1 month or 3 weeks Mafia, the entire game, and recorded it. And then just for this video I recorded GTA 3, and it was just incredible how fun it is with those fast cars that really handle well. And yeah, you really have to be on your toes when you're driving, because everything goes so fast. It's like coming from the 1930s and getting into a car from the 2000s, because this is essentially what it felt like. So yeah, you can clearly see that GTA 3 in comparison to Mafia is more about the driving, the fun aspect of driving. Yeah, then intercut with footage from the game. Sorry if this is from the intro. Sorry if the playback is a little bit choppy. I'm not quite sure if my if OBS can handle everything there, but I gave it its own core, its own NUMA core even. So it hopefully it should be fine. So yeah, more of the same. Just some impressions from Mafia. The big problem that I have when editing everything here, my screen recordings, I record, usually, this is my way of doing things, is I record in HEVC. Yeah, I think that's the it's the high performance video encoder or something. It's H265. 56, I'm always getting those numbers wrong. Yeah, the thing is I'm recording them in uncompressed, so that after, when I'm done with a session of gaming, I got like 150 gigabytes of yeah, game recordings, and then I crunch those uncompressed. Well, they aren't uncompressed, they're lossless compressions, so every pixel is there. Then I crunch those down to MP4s with a set bitrate of, let's say, 8,000 kilobits per second, but in 2 passes, so it takes around 1.5 days to compress 2 hours of gaming. The problem is those files are intra-frame compressed, and Premiere doesn't really play along with those, so I got a horrible performance, especially if I'm doing any kind of speed effects or backwards playing or anything, because you have a keyframe and then Premiere has to seek for 30 frames and recalculate all the in-between frames and then display me the frame. So what I have to do is render out proxies that are, yeah, essentially the same videos, just transcoded to a different video codec that is interframe coded. If this is too technical, my point is the performance here in Premiere is sluggish, and if it is not, where I had to render proxy files, they take up much more space on my hard drive than the original files. So this entire project is like 200 gigabytes in size. Okay, then we have here this plate, this mission plate there, where this is just when a mission is loading, you get this loading screen. And since I wanted to zoom in and wanted to have it very crisp, what did I do? Of course, with all the modding tools that I already amassed for this project, I went into the original files and extracted all those images individually, and also found out the font. By the way, the font is called Aurora, and this is what I use pretty much throughout. We will see it later. So, and then I just ran also those through my AI upscaler, did some cleanups, and this is just have this thing very crisp. So yeah, we got some more just impressions there and editing things there, and this is the next one. This one was a running gag with my friends back in high school. where we would also always cite this version with Mr. Burns from The Simpsons, where he just drives up to this refueling station and says to Marge, "Hey you, revulcanize my tires and fill up petroleum distillate, post haste!" And we were constantly this was a running gag with us, and I thought this would be nice, and then I just put it in there, and I realized it sounded as if I was voicing Mr. Burns now, but my timing was off. So what did I do? I retimed there. This is why there are so many edit points happening there. This is why I retimed the original Simpsons thing to my voice line. And this blue bar means that those frames have already been shown in the edit. This is just so you know that you're not using the same shot of something. And also here, so those are just indicators that somewhere in the same timeline I'm using this portion of this clip again, which usually in scening or in movies you want to avoid. You don't want to show people the exact same frames twice, but I think for this kind of video it works. So yeah, just zoomed in and music, and we got here the first mission. Yeah, this is all not very interesting. Let me skip forward. When you hear something weird, this is our washing machine spinning like crazy. Okay, so VRG Lab says we're having a lag, and I'm assuming this might be due to Premiere updating my timeline, so I hope it's not too bad. You know what, I try now to view the entire timeline and then jump in where I need it, in the hopes that Premiere doesn't have to just query the frames and then drop the frames from the live stream. So yeah, there is this one sequence where I speed up everything for the driving sequence. So this is why I'm not going into it. I'm just jumping ahead exactly because of this problem that I'm having with MP4 files or any kind of intra-frame codec compressed, that's the word, intra-frame compressed files. So the interesting part, this is just very basic editing. The interesting part starts here with this, where I wanted to have to spoof essentially, or not spoof, to satirize the way like the shows like Top Gear or even one of our Red Bull shows are presenting some things. This at first glance, the Lost Heaven racing circuit might seem unassuming, quaint even. Yeah, and this entire way of talking and writing and also the editing, I really wanted to get as close as I could to all those racing shows that are just so laden with testosterone and this is very manly editing and so on. Yeah, because I think it's just a bit ridiculous. And also always speed ramps and blurry transitions and drone shots of everything. And this is what I did here, and lots of color grading. And this segment is amazing. Wonderful, thank you so much. Sorry, I need to stop probably when I'm talking. Someone said, asked me on YouTube whether I breathe in one of my code reviews, and I think I've forgotten once or twice. So maybe I should stop, then say, someone in the chat wrote, this segment is amazing, thank you so much. And now we'll continue my thought. So there was a lot of color grading going on here. And also to get this footage there from the game, as you probably noticed, this is game footage, well, duh. But the problem is usually you have all those heads-up displays going on in there. How did you get the footage for the drone shot? This is the next thing on my agenda. Is I extracted the entire model from the game and brought it over to Maya, where I thought I could do all those shots, transition shots, or pretty much have the entire racetrack and place my camera wherever I want. However, the thing is, it only worked halfway. So all of the entire models that like some trees or pretty much anything that's not part of the of the level layout as the track and the terrain, this didn't get imported. And essentially what I would have had to do was find out where each tree, where each billboard was standing, and then try to find it in the original game data and extract it and put it there myself. So even for me, that was a little bit too much. But thankfully, I hunted down a lot of modding tools for this game, and then came across the Mafia World Editor. And in this program, yeah, it's essentially you can just edit the Mafia levels and do some, yeah, place new models, recalculate the lighting maps, and so on. But let me just load a mission there. You know what? Let's load the racing car mission, because once you've connected it with the game, it finds everything there. Where is Autodrome? It's called. There we go. Okay, and then it should load it, and here we are. And on this tool here, it says all the individual elements there, and I can see here Loft 6, Loft 7, Loft 9. So apparently this was made with 3D Studio Max and Mesh and Track and Loft and Object and so on and so forth. So those individual objects, like I said, I wouldn't have them in Maya to do things. But I realized, you know what, in this editor here, I don't have to go to Maya. I can just fly around in the editor here and do stuff there and record it from there. But as soon as I'm moving in my mouse, you can see what's happening here. It's horribly glitchy, and when I'm just moving around with Vast, it looks very nice, it looks pleasing. But as soon as I start turning my mouse, you get this glitchy effect. And I really tried a lot what I could do to avoid this. I even installed some kind of mouse movement smoothers, but they wouldn't play well with this one here. It even got worse. So what was my solution? Yeah, don't do mouse movements. But I did two mouse pens, and I show you how I managed to get them working. Almost. So yeah, when I want to turn around, I have to move my mouse very slowly until I have everything where I need it. And like here, for example, yeah, this drone shot that I have here. Let's do a drone shot here. What I would do things is line up my camera, hit right mouse button that I have my mouse pointer back, and then on the bottom here you can set the camera speed, and I would set it to like 0.1 or something. Then hook this window there to my screen recorder, hit record, and without touching my mouse, I'm just hitting W, so I'm slightly moving forward, and this is how I recorded this kind of drone shots. Yeah, then I had this top-down drone shot. This I recorded like something like this, and then just rotated it by 90 degrees and so on. Interestingly, as I'm moving here, you can see the billboards of the trees. Of course, they're always orienting towards the camera, which works 90% of the time, but not if you're looking directly from above. So this is what's happening here. Yeah, and this is it's a bit problematic trying to move around here, because when I want to go to a different spot of the track, I really have to go fly there myself. So, for example, I'm having there. Where are we? Oh, right, sorry. Where we get across the hill here, and then I was having a pan going from here, where I say, yeah, this curve can be taken with high speed, but beware the treacherous chicane. So even if I reduce the camera speed here, like I did this pan from just this point of the track to the other track. So I recorded it and very slowly moved my mouse around, and it jiggled around like this. But thankfully, Adobe Premiere has some kind of video stabilization, and yeah, I fiddled around a little bit, and it took some time, but it worked, that it stabilized out this horrible jittery movement there. And this is how I took pretty much all of those shots there, where are no other cars in there. Creepy Trees, what video are you working on? Oh, Tutvari, hello there. I'm not working on any video. This is from my latest video, just essentially the post-mortem of the video. And I got a message in the chat that I, for once, spotted as it came. this is kind of a segue. How do you justify buying paid software, Maya, Premiere, etc.? Do you also use them professionally, asking for a friend who wants to buy some paid software? The thing is, thankfully, I'm also I'm fully employed, but I also work self-employed, and for this I use the software most of the time. But I think the problem was with me. In college, I worked with all those tools and really got used to them. For example, with Premiere, the entire Adobe suite, I pay, I think it's $60 per month, 60 euros per month for the entire Adobe suite, which is bad because it's a lot of money. But on the other hand, it's good because I have all the Adobe products at hand. It's just the Adobe products, but for me it works because I'm so very much used to them. With Maya, I studied 3D animation, so once I shelled out I got a bit of money when my grandfather died, passed away back when I was finishing college, or it was mid-college, but I still had some of the inheritance left. And with that, I bought Maya. And the thing with Maya is it's horribly expensive. I think I paid back then 2,000 euros for the license. It's just insane. This was, other people get themselves a car. I get myself Maya. But then you only have to pay once a year. It's like 800 euros for the maintenance license. But Autodesk is changing their licensing scheme, so I'm not quite sure what's happening. But they took my money for this year, and Maya is still working. So yeah, I think it's a bit like extortion. As long as you pay up, it works out for you. But you really have to run the numbers essentially if you can afford it. If you think, I'm as with myself, when I know that I can work with Photoshop and Premiere and Maya, I'm like 15 times faster than when I would be working with other software that I'm not used to. And the other thing is, of course, how much money can you expect from jobs that you can get from, or that you perform with this software, and does it add up in the end? Because I mean, even if it's 15 times better for you to work with, say, Premiere, but at the end of the day, it's you're still paying like $200 on top of everything that you've made. So of course, you have to look into it. So my suggestion would be only pay for this what you really can't do without. In my case, I'm so lucky with all my patrons that it's not, to me, it's not a matter. Just of course it still hurts a little bit, of course, to pay for all the software, but then again, I get all those benefits they constantly try to emphasize, like support, which is good if you need it. If not, well, at least I have peace of mind that I know that I don't have to keep a low profile because everything is cracked. No, I'm using legitimate software for anything that I do because I know it might bite you in the ass, and again, thankfully I can pay for it. But again, if you work commercially, I think you really should get the software that you can't do without. For some reason, Phil reminds me of Brandon Urie. I have no idea who this is. I think I've looked him up once, but thank you. I take it as a compliment. Okay, sorry for the diversion. Back to the edit. As you can see, segments like this one here, where it's from first person and it's the race. I had to find a way, because with those old games, it's not really easy to have a way to turn off all the user interface or the UI essentially, because with Mafia, it's really huge. If you look at this year, you can see, we got the minimap here, we got the lap times, we got here this huge speedometer, damage, and so on, and if I just zoom in, it's just it's me. Hi. It's a very tiny portion that you can use, which is of course heavily pixelated and then compressed, of course. So what I found out was a program called the cheat engine, and essentially it hooks between the game, and so the game is going through the cheat engine before it goes through any operating system calls, which makes it possible for you to manipulate pretty much the entire memory the game is using. And you can set a breakpoint and say, okay, here print out all the memory addresses that are 0, and then I switch on in-game or go into the pause menu, because in pause menu everything, all those UI elements get hidden or disabled. And I say, okay, all those zeros that change to 1 now, print me those. And yeah, so methodically I tried to tease out at which memory address there was 1 byte or even 1 Boolean bit that says, yeah, now the HUD is on and now it is off. Long story short, I didn't find it. It took me like 2 hours until I just threw the towel. But luckily, in some obscure forum and mafia, I mean, the game is 18 years old at this point. All the forums are obscure in one way or another. Someone printed out the memory address of the patched version, where counterintuitively you have to set to 1 and not to 0. And I tried this and it didn't work. And long story short, somehow it worked, but only once, and I realized, okay, it works now. I have to get all the footage that I need from this. And yeah, this is when I played the race again, just from bumper perspective, like here.
Shortly after the start.
By the way, all this audio on this segment, all the sounds are completely redubbed. So there is nothing from the original game, of course, in the audio here. Yeah, with those shots here, just very much zoomed in of just some shots that were happening. And yeah, those are of course shots that happened in the game. But at the end of this sequence there, oh yeah, the other thing that I added, of course, was this lens flare. Originally there wasn't a lens flare in this footage, of course, but I thought, yeah, just gus it up a little bit. And yeah, also this one here was done with this hack without disabling the HUD elements. Yeah, and those last shots here, I don't have to zoom in here. This shot, for example, let's bring it up here. This is before color correction. You can see there is some motion blur happening, which is not in the game. How is there a motion blur? Yeah, I brought this shot over to After Effects and applied some digital motion blur so that it looks better. Same thing here, where I did a different kind of motion blur there on the wheel, of course, and just masked it out so that we only have motion blur there. And yeah, I didn't use this here. You can see in this example here, there is a couple of frames where the lap time is shown again, but then after 2 frames, the cheat engine overrides this one value where it allows, essentially that has changed back to allowing overlays, and then it disables it again. So, but I didn't use it anyway. So where's my mouse? And the last shot here with the race car crossing the finish line. This one here. How did I arrive at this one? This was also of the bumper perspective of the car that I was playing there in the game, which is just, I was just waiting, hanging around the finishing line and waited for the NPC drivers to finish their first lap, and then looked into the other direction and slowly drove backwards. And yeah, with a little bit of timing, you can get a shot that looks really nice, like this. And then, of course, I tried to steer and bumped somewhere, and then it said here wrong way, and so on and so forth. So this didn't entirely work out, but at least for I did a lot of those shots, but this one was the only usable that I ended up with. But in the end, I mean, you only need one, and this is good. So yeah, this was the most work intense segment, because this was now just for the video part of it. Yeah, of course, here the same thing here. This was also done in this world editor engine. Not this shot. This is the only shot that came from, let me just open it here. This shot came from this cutscene. And I just zoomed into this portion here. And for half a second or 1 second, I could use it actually. Yeah, the other thing was, again, like with this world editor, and again, yeah, the lens flare is fake, but I thought it would be kind of nice. also there in the black and white footage. As for the audio, I wanted, of course, to have some kind of, like I said, very testosterone-laden, big, epic, yeah, oorah, car gearhead sound. And yeah, I shopped around for some public domain music, but with public domain, man, this is an entire can of worms where it says it's public domain, but then Sony says, yeah, but we still claim the rights on YouTube, so you can't really use it unless you want Sony to run advertisements on your video and then cash out on your video with something that is apparently a public domain. So yeah, this entire piece of music there I just composed for this one little segment there. The good thing is when you're doing music yourself, you can really time it to what's in the picture. So you can see here there are a couple of edit points in here in the audio waveform where I just split it up that it matches a little bit better. But most of the time I could just use this one segment because I timed it in my audio making software. And those little things here, those are all individual sound effects of some race car driving things. And where did I find those? Let me just, you know what, let's solo all those here and have a listen. Oh, let me make it a bit louder there on the desktop that you can really hear what's going on. Yeah, so this is all just dubbed in later, and those sounds I downloaded from freesound.org. This is an incredibly wonderful resource for free sounds, and I only took bits and pieces here and there of some of the sounds, and like I said, they don't cost anything. And I made sure to also mention where I got the sounds from in the credits then. And yeah, when you really have time to puzzle together all those little bits that work here and some work there and so on, you really end up with something that's very usable. What was interestingly the biggest problem was all those risers and impact sounds like this when you transition over into this big trailer-esque sounds. I ended up purchasing for $45 a huge cinematic sound effects, trailer effects library, and yeah, I was very disillusioned when I really listened to them because most of them sounded like they were clipping and they sounded just like assaulting noise on all levels, and in the end I realized, crap, I spent at least 2 hours finding the right swoosh and impact sounds, but none really worked for me. And let's hear one. Yeah, this here. In the end, what I did was I recorded them with my mouth going and then piled on effects and stuff in Reaper and pitched it up or pitched it down, and also this. This is how I made it. Pitch it down, add some reverb, and you get this. Well, not this, sorry. Wrong part. You get this. And yeah, I could have saved a lot of time and money if I had done it from the get-go. So yeah, this is one of those original shots. Let me show you. This is how it looked in the edit when it was stabilized there in Premiere. And this is how it looked. Oh, this is already the stabilized version apparently. I think, yeah, I stabilized it in After Effects. But I got another one, this one here, where I said... yeah, the curve here, what's this one? Yeah. So this looked pretty smooth after stabilization, and originally, as you can tell, it looked as jerky as I showed it before. But thankfully, since this is all digital, in a sense, the stabilization worked really quite well. Yeah, and with this segment here, also with the editing, like I said, I really wanted to have this big TV show gearhead, Top Gear feeling. And the good thing is that I work at Red Bull Media, and I have a lot of editors there at my disposal, and I just showed one or two my edit very, very sheepishly and said, yeah, could you have a look at it? Yeah, well, sure. What's this? Never mind. Just tell me what you think of the edit. So yeah, I'm really grateful to all those to all the feedback that I got, and thankfully I think I didn't have to change a lot. Maybe here and there a couple of frames or just one part in front of the other. But yeah, as Manny said, it's a bit too many effects in there, which I think is good because this is exactly what I was going for. Okay, so yeah, this was, I think, the most intense segment there in terms of work right after the CGI stuff. So yeah, this little plate here, again, this is just an intertitle from the 1930s. I think there was... it was in the movie theater with one big woman with a big hat, and it says, yeah, how would you like to sit behind your hat, or something like this, because some women apparently in the 1930s were wearing too big a hat to the movie theaters, and no one behind them could see the screen, so so they had to do some titles. Yeah, and this is what I just painted out and painted in this one here. And again, here is again the font of Mafia, that is Aurora, and I think this one here, I'm not quite sure what I used there in the end. I think it was Palatino, but I could be mistaken. Yeah, so nothing fancy going on here. Yeah, just essentially this is very much my candid appearance or experience that I had when I was playing the game. I just zoomed in, held a frame there so I could finish the voiceover that was going on, and so on. And yeah, then when I was playing this, it instantly reminded me of this Spirit of 1937. I've never played this game before. I only saw it in a couple of Let's Plays or so on YouTube. And also, of course, James Rolfe, the angry video game nerd. Sorry, this was the wrong button. There we go. Played it once with his friend Mike, and I thought this was the only way I could get to this footage, because you know me already. I really try to get always the original source footage, but this game it was on the PC and on the Sega Dreamcast. I found a PC version, but I didn't manage to get it to run, not even in an emulated Windows 95, because it was expecting a 3D acceleration card, and this one didn't get emulated, so I didn't manage to get it to run. I even emulated a Sega Dreamcast, but the ROMs that I had of this game, in a pretty gray zone, legally probably, I also didn't manage to get to run. So I think this is the first time that I used somebody else's gaming footage in one of my videos. So this is, of course, I had to credit them. And yeah, of course, there is this running gag with the angry video game nerd, where, for those who aren't familiar, James Rolfe has this character, the angry video game nerd, where he plays shitty games, old games. And there is this recurring trend of games that were published by LJN were the worst of the bunch. And this is why I played it up a little bit. You can see here, there is, on my timeline, there is an LJN logo fading in and fading out there, and when you look at this screen here, very subtly on the floppy disk box here, the logo fades in and out.
I think that's enough.
I don't know why. I just thought it would be nice, and of course it gradually fades in here in the background for this nice little jump scare effect, where we zoom in ever so slightly and then it switches over to a skull, which I also found as a public domain image. Yeah, and now we're here back in the game, and some said
First play.
you can hear it in my voice how frustrated I was. And of course, I had to record the voiceover afterwards, of course, after I played it, because then I knew already which which attempts I would put in, and so on and so forth, and how I would edit those. And then I just, had in my script, I think, stuff like, what the hell? How? Look at this! And I recorded the voiceover, of course, in the middle of the night, as I always do, so I don't have any dogs barking outside, children chirping, birds and so on. But it was also very hot, so I had the window open. And only afterwards I realized either I have woken my wife, who was sleeping next door, also with the window open because it was hot, or completely alienated our neighbors when I was shouting, "No! What? Look at this! You know what this means? Suicide time!" So if you hear this out of context, it's probably a little bit worrisome. But then again, probably my neighbors already know me, that I'm a weird, eccentric fella. Yeah, so all those wonderful attempts there, and of course the running joke that is always once you get a game over, it starts again this wonderful cutscene, and this is why I said you get to loathe this Panaba polygonal pent leg, because you will see it so many times. And this is also with this little skip meme here. I just googled I just searched in YouTube for skip meme, and apparently this guy here is presenting some kind of I think football show with other presenter, and the other presenter is named Skip, and he's pretty loud and there is this cut down where it's just 30 seconds of him shouting, "Skip, skip, 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 no skip." And just put those together because I thought it would be funny. And of course, the font is Impact, which is the #1 meme font, as we all know it. So just put font in Impact, only caps, white, black outline, you got your meme font. Yeah, and this is pretty much, I think, all of the attempts. Yeah, I had this little effect here of like a VCR where you speed things up, because of course I want to trim it down, because you don't want to watch like me 30 seconds driving from one glitchy bit to the next. Yeah, what's interesting are the glitchy bits, not me driving there without much happening actually there. And you might have also noticed when you've watched it, there's 1930s music underneath everything. And I found those tracks on archive.org, where I just googled for 1930s music and public domain. And this is why once this video was finished, and I was so relieved that I had everything done, and I uploaded it to YouTube, and an hour later I got an email, copyright strike. Well, it wasn't a strike, but it was just that some music publishing firm I've never heard before. Then I googled it and thought, oh yeah, it's a subsidiary of Sony Music or Universal Music or any of those big players. And apparently they claim the rights to this music track from 1931. Yes, it's 90 years old, but this doesn't mean a thing. So what I did in the end was, once I was aware of this and I tweeted about it, you might have noticed or have seen this in your timeline where I was just ranting about public domain music. What I did was whenever I found a track where I could think, maybe this doesn't have Duke Ellington or Ella Fitzgerald or pretty much anything that you would know of any great artists in the title or in the band playing, because I thought, if it's Duke Ellington, it doesn't matter if it's 100 years old. Duke Ellington is still a recognized name in jazz, so someone claims copyright for this song. So I just tried to find the most obscure bands and orchestras out there, and then just put them on a blank timeline, just black, and rendered it out and uploaded this private video to YouTube, and then just waited half an hour to see if they would send me an email about copyright claim, content ID, the name of the song. And this happened like 2 or 3 times in a row until I uploaded a jazz song from a Dutch band that just goes oh aha and some Dutch in between, and then oh aha. The thing is, it really sticks in your mind, and I had this for 2 days, and now that I just rehashed the refrain, the chorus, I will have it again. So this was the only thing. Apparently, as long as it's not too American, it's public domain or no one cares. Interestingly, this song, I think, I'm not quite sure, wasn't even marked as public domain. So I think I'm good as long as nobody finds out that I'm using a very specific song from the 1930s from a Dutch dance orchestra. I think I'm good. But yeah, it really comes to show what is public domain in the sense it isn't. Because the thing is, yeah, the music might be public domain, but not the recording, which is bad. You would think, yeah, okay, you would think that, okay, 70 years after the death of the author, a work becomes public domain. And with music and writing, I think, yes, it does. But again, with music, you have the recording rights, and the recording was grandfathered in sometime, I think it was 1974. And it was 1974 was the date for pretty much anything that was prior to 1974. That, yeah, this is the date for plus 70 years where recordings expire. So we really will see some big wave of public domain music hitting public domain music from the 1930s, 40s and 50s and 60s, of course, in 2040 something. So yeah, this is what I learned about copyright. So yeah, lots of trials and errors. So there is not much to say about this one here. And I think we're pretty much through. Now there's only the recap and summary of all the things that didn't work out. So this was attempt number 13. Yeah, and it took me an hour to beat this, and it felt much longer. But I thought while I was playing it, my God, all those glitches, someone has to see them, because I think they might be very interesting or just entertaining to watch. So then I realized, but why is it really that bad? And it got me thinking, yeah, and I realized, yeah, you have wrong expectations. You're expecting to play a shooter and not this racing simulation. It's not just some kind of arcadey racing fun, but it feels like a simulation. The other thing, of course, is controls. And there again, we have this rendering of my wonderful computer setup. So I had to sneak it in again because it was just so much work, and I'm so proud of designing and modeling and shading all those things there. You know what? One thing I'm most proud of is, if you see this mouse pad here, and there are the threads coming loose there at the edges. So yeah, this is just a very minor detail, but for some reason I'm very happy that I pulled it off. Pun halfway intended there. Let's finish there. Git good. Oh yeah, this was another dive down the rabbit hole, because of course I wanted to have this Dark Souls. I want a reference. I want to mention Dark Souls. One had to get good. So I thought I really wanted this. You died or Git good, but in the you died font and all the appearance and with the sound effect. So what I did was I installed again Dark Souls and then ripped the sounds via Fmod and dug my way through it until I found the sound effect for when you're dead, when you die. And of course I very much intentionally let myself get killed by the Asylum Demon. I think this is the very first enemy you find in the game, and I recorded this so that I could frame by frame recreate how dark the screen would get, how dark this bar would get, how the font would fade in, how big it would grow, and so on and so forth. And I even found the exact font, well, I think 90% correct font. Not quite sure if I found the right font cut. But the cool thing about this is that I used it or created what Adobe calls a motion graphics template. in After Effects. So essentially it's just it's a After Effects composition where you can pretty much have all the After Effects fun stuff, but you can expose certain properties that you can also change from Premiere. For example, the text or text color or something like this. Let me just quickly show you where do I have essential graphics, and those are all my graphics templates, and they're under Edit. Let me just quickly edit this one here, and in this case I can change here, just simply type in a different text here and I can use it again just how I want it. And there's even a comment that says fade in desaturation underneath for 1.5 seconds because it doesn't ripple through what's underneath. But if you can say here, hello unicorns, it says hello unicorns in one had to get good. Hello unicorns, and there you go. So I thought maybe I will use it in the future just with something different reading there. So yeah, this is why I made this template, and it's again spent way too long on it. Yeah, we're almost done. Oh yeah, this was I really was wanted to get this thing finished. So this is why this little animation setting here. Let me pull down the sound again. Yeah, this animation here is nothing to phone home about, but again, I thought I needed something to really showcase, and since I said toxic brew and so on and so forth, I really wanted to have some kind of light-hearted animation there. And I drew this while I was waiting, I think in line in Starbucks. I drew this on my phone. Let me just quickly find it. Where do I have it? Adobe Sketch, there we go. Because I like this phone because it comes with a stylus. That's what's it called. And let me quickly show you. Yeah, this is apparently this is too bright. And now it's, yeah, let's try this. So yeah, this is pretty much everything that we have here in this scene there. And let me deactivate this layer, and then we got even our little skull head here. So apparently people at Starbucks probably thought I was being antisocial while I was just drawing skulls and bottles with X's on them and so forth. So yeah. Then again, we got the angry video game nerd, and I needed to bridge a couple of seconds of the voiceover. And for some reason, I really didn't know how to do it, and I superimposed the skull that I used there for the LJN logo before. Where do I have the skull? Let me just quickly find it there in my edit. I think this one. And yeah, and I superimposed it, and it matched pretty well with James Rolfe. If you didn't overly emphasize it too brightly or too much, then of course it would show that the teeth are somewhere else. But it looked very weird, and I thought, sure, why not? So there is no bigger point to it other than, yeah, I needed to bridge a couple of seconds, and look at this, the skull actually lines up with his face. Isn't this funny? Yeah, this is another little After Effects sequence. The photo, again, I found just somewhere on an article and went with it into Photoshop, added some grain and some dust and some dirt. And this is also my font that I used in my game. The Cellar, the font is Hubert, named after my late grandfather. Yeah, and again, it's just this very simple little fun animation here. And yeah, we're here at the ending. Yeah, again, there are so many frustrating missions in this game. So this was only the tip of the iceberg, because once you've made it past the race, yeah, you're in for a treat, because there's more shit like that. There's someone in the chat. What do you use to draw on your phone? I got a couple of apps because I tried them out and I wanted to get the perfect one for myself. The one that came with that phone that was pre-installed, when I pull out my stylus, it starts automatically Samsung Notes, which you can draw and then export. But the problem with Samsung Notes is it's really hard to get out a PNG image. When you export it, it always scales it down as a crummy JPEG. So what I ended up with when I want to export from Google Notes, I really just took screenshots. And the other thing that I tried was, where do I have it? It was called Autodesk Sketch, if I'm not mistaken. Autodesk Sketchbook. And this, I think, cost some money back then. Is this the other one? Yeah, Autodesk Sketchbook. And since I already have a Maya account, it also worked with my Autodesk account. And so, yeah, I just used that. And the other thing that I just showed you before was Adobe Sketch, I think it was called. Let me just make sure. It's, yeah, Adobe Sketch. And again, since I'm paying for the Adobe Creative Suite, $60 a month anyway, I just could log in with my Adobe account. And the cool thing is you draw something there and you can say on the web, on this app, send to Photoshop, and it would pop open the Photoshop on this computer there and do its cloud thing magic, and I would have it right away just from drawing there without any need to hook in with cable or anything, or go to share and then send myself an email as I would have done it in some cases. So yeah, this was very painless, and for me it works well. But I think there are a number of drawing apps out there, but the ones that I said that I mentioned just now are cool because they allow you to have different kinds of pressure when you're drawing, which is very nice when you want to have something very articulated. So yeah, same animation as before. Also, this changing effect there of the screen, I can show you in After Effects how I did this. This was also very, very simple, relatively speaking. And yeah, I thought there, because it was just so much work in the credit sequence, I wanted to have this little peek behind the scenes where I'm just rotating the camera around in Maya, just showing off that, yeah, everything what you see is fake. You can take this out of context. And yeah, the other thing is that haunted me was, of course, the credit sequence, because each time that I tried a different song, of course, I had to change it also in the credits. The credits themselves, let me just show you if I can find them. Is it here? Yes. So the credits themselves are just this huge Illustrator file there, and I don't know what's happening here actually, but yeah, those are the credits. And like I said, whenever I changed the song, of course, I had to mention it in the credits. And when you do this a couple of times, at least you forget once, and then you have to re-render everything because yeah, you've mentioned the wrong artist. That's probably long dead now in the credits somewhere. But yeah, I always want to make sure that I really quote my sources and all, for example here, all the sound effects that I got from Freesound, so that if anyone should be interested or wonder what's the sound, or what's that news piece or anything, you can really look it up. Of course, it's probably a little bit tiring to type this URL there into your browser, but if you just have the title and who wrote it or who published it and just put it into Google, you will find it. And this is just to make sure that yes, for example, I don't know if anyone ever does this, but yeah, I really want to be thorough and credit pretty much everything that I use that's not my own. And if it is my own, I just say produced by yours truly, and that's good with it. But if you use someone else's work, yeah, you really want to show them some respect. Talking about respect, always have to make sure, of course, that I don't forget any of my patrons, which happened a couple of times so far. I think I've forgot InkDO21 once or twice now, and it was, you probably some of you have watched my apology video after the last post-mortem, where I wrote 100 times that I won't forget any patrons in the credits anymore. So yeah, I really have double-checked that all the names are correctly spelled and that I didn't forget any one of the current patrons. And as always, there at the ending, I also made this little animation there, and this one took a bit longer than necessary, as always with myself. But the cool thing, with this ending here, let me just close this panel here, is that I can use again there my motion graphics template as before with the ending, with the death screen in Dark Souls, because this one here is very modular. As you can see, pretty much everything is coded in After Effects expressions. So I just can here use a slider and the entire layout changes and switches from left to right. I can of course change pretty much anything that's here written. I can even say which kind of logo I want, no logo or the Pixel Prophecy logo, or the maybe shall I need it, the Film Motion Video logo. I can change the background if I want. I can even say I want the background blurred or not, or faded in or not, and so on. So just without going to After Effects, I pretty much have here set myself up this little template that I can use just how I see fit. And I really like it that I spent also the time to make sure that the logo there is the exact same size it has on the YouTube player. So once the YouTube player fades in and it says click here to subscribe, hit to subscribe, and you really can mouse over it. So it's not in the video anymore, but it's this overlay that gets faded in from YouTube. And yeah, this is pretty much all the work that went into this. And oh my god, I talked for over 1 hour only for this 21-minute video. But as you've seen, yeah, there's quite a lot to it. And what usually takes long with doing with editing is you can see all those little dots here. Those are audio levels. So sometimes a sound effect is too loud. Then you want it a bit to have it a bit quieter. Then sometimes your voiceover, you do some smacking, or just something doesn't line up, or you say a word wrong, as usually happens with me. And this little editing really just balloons sooner or later, and sometimes I really have to do some re-recording of certain segments and so on and so forth. And of course here with the audio, you want the music to be louder when no one's talking, then it ducks down. This is called ducking because it ducks down and has nothing to do, I said nothing, with actual ducks. And of course there are some kind of automatisms in Premiere that do these things automatically. When you say, this is my music, this is my voiceover, just duck whenever I'm talking. But it takes quite long, and I feel that I have more control when I do it manually, of course, but this also takes more time. Right. I got another comment on the chat. Thank you so much. Von Jamar on air. It's funny that you can have the best looking video with the best shots and edits, but if the audio isn't good, no one's gonna watch it. Also, hello, Pixel Prophecy. Hello. Yeah, this is true. This is often overlooked, pun intended, the audio aspect. Since I work as a colorist, and when I'm doing the color on some show, I do it usually without audio, so that I can just concentrate on the images, because as soon as when the audio mix is done, and our audio people that we have at Red Bull, they are pretty amazing, because when you feel, it's not quite there, and maybe more contrast, you don't really feel it. And then you put in the audio even to an ungraded version, it blows you away, because audio is so strong in really getting emotion across. But also, of course, as you said, the flip side is if audio is bad, if you're constantly talking like this in a microphone, it really gets tiring. Or if you're too far away and all you hear is the very reverberation of the room tone, it just gets so annoying. Also, if you use music that's overly compressed, but then we're in a different ballpark altogether, with people saying your music is too compressed. But I totally agree. The audio is a part that no one really notices until it's really bad. Excuse me, until it's really bad. And I think, this is why I always make sure that I denoise pretty much anything that I record here, because my computer is running. Our server tower is running there. It's not loud, but it's noticeable. So I I also filter out all the smacks and other mouth noises that I make, and really make sure that I get the audio as clean as possible so that it's not too distracting when you listen to someone talking and you can hear them smacking because they didn't have enough water before they recorded their voiceover, for example. Speaking of which. Jamar says, I work on a radio station. Oh yeah, this explains it. So you probably have a much better understanding than I what is good audio and also what is bad audio. I'm trying to work my way up, but I practice more audio engineering than video editing. Quick question, what kind of condenser microphone are you using? The one that I'm having here is a Rode USB. That's what it's called. No, is it a Rode USB? I'm not quite sure anymore. No, yes, of course, yeah. It connects via USB. I had the choice to use a USB microphone as I'm using now, this more or less podcasting microphone, or a more advanced one that has the XLR output, because there on my microphone arm I got even XLR jack, which would have been nice, because this one there, it just goes inside this arm here. But then I would, of course, need a preamp for my microphone. But then, of course, I also could hook up a compressor in between, so I don't have to do it like I do now via OBS and so on and so forth. So, the choice of my microphone was just simply because, this one looks good, has good reviews, and it plugs in as it is via USB and gets like a sound card recognized. And I think this was pretty much the reason why I went for this microphone. Also, you probably have noticed that I don't have, where is it now? Sorry. There we go. That I don't have one of those, what are they called? Pop filters. This is how I know them. Because when you say plosives, like the word plosive, with one of those, it's plosive, it doesn't pop, essentially. And you notice that I don't have one of those. And the reason is the arm that I have, all those ways or constructions or gadgets that you get that you can clamp on something, those are made for round arms, for like pipes and so on. But the microphone arm that I have here, this one is angled, and it just sticks. It really, I haven't found a solution to this. The only solution is now not to make any plosive sounds. So or when I'm doing voice recording, I really hold this in my hands in front of the microphone. So, and it's pretty dusty, but I've been carrying around for years now. Okay, cool. So the last thing that I thought I want to share with you, just very quickly, is this TV effect there, because there's Avril already. You probably know that my TV is multi-layered. For one thing is that I really want to make sure that the crappy YouTube videos that I download really look like TV for one thing or another, like they are displayed on a CRT television. And one thing is, of course, this channel switching that's happening here is just an effect that, let me go through frame by frame. What it does is, for one thing here, it just moves the picture and then adds this noise effect. And here on top I have in wonderful green the channel number, essentially. And what I also thought that would be nice would be to have this MTV logo, because MTV, I think, was a part of many childhoods, and it's not that much around anymore. So I thought it would be nice to have this MTV logo there as well. So once I had all those channel switching effects and so on set up, then I added some more effects onto it. And you can see here now it looks different than before. For one thing, we have this kind of grill going on there. And this is the Trinitron grill, as it's called, or it's the image mask, as it's called. And we got here some very slight chromatic aberration going on, and so on and so forth. So if we compare it here with, this is how the original looks, and this is how the TV version looks. This is just so that it looks like it was really filmed off a TV. And there's also, if I zoom in, those little funky pixels there going on. Yeah, this is the RF noise that you would get. Yeah, we don't need sound. That is the RF noise you would get when you watch something through a non-digital transmission or cable or anything like that. So I thought this was very interesting because, again, with these image masks, you know me, really know me now that I go all the way in. And where do I have it? RF noise, CRT mask. Yes, and this is how it looks like. So for each pixel, I got here red, green, and blue. This is the Trinitron mask. Then I got, of course, a different slit mask for... Why can't I see it? Different kinds of those masks, but those apparently seem to be just variations of the same thing. Oh no, yeah, this is, for example, this is a computer monitor of the time back then. I'm not quite sure why we don't really see it updated here. Probably because the image is 4K. But yeah, I really went all the way in and researched how those RGB dots would actually be distributed on a screen like this. And yeah, this is why. In the end, it looks a little bit artifact riddled. But this is what you would get if you just film off a TV screen, and it just furthers this immersion and sense of realism, which I thought, again, you know me, I really like those little details. Okay, and this was the behind the edit of my latest YouTube video that was called Was It Really That Bad? And this was also my very clickbaity title, because one commenter on YouTube said that I should make more clickbaity titles or just clickbaity thumbnails and so on. And I really thought about it, just having, those little circles and then arrows and then you wouldn't believe it, or they killed her, or something like this. And I really couldn't bring myself to do it because that's just not me. I want to have my thumbnails interesting, but not overly shouting. But then again, I'm very aware that even and since I really know that when you put an arrow and a circle on an image, it doesn't tell you anything, but even I fall into the trap when I'm just browsing through YouTube and see something there with an image and a circle, and I can't help but look. So this is like, it's like crack cocaine. It's really addicting to do something like this because you want to click it for some reason. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just having too many things that are addictive in my life. For example, unicorns. So what's next with me, you might wonder? Well, let me get back to the big camera where you can also see the unicorn. We can see the unicorn, I hope we can. So what will be new with me? Yeah, now that this video is finished at long last, I will start working on the Ludum Dare 46 post-mortem, and in between, next week I have, well, not really scheduled, but planned to do another reshoot for the Ludum Dare 42 documentary. For those of you who weren't born when I started to doing the 42 post-mortem, this is, Ludum Dare from 2 years back now, I think, and I completely overscoped because this was the one where I wanted to do as a funny bit, essentially in between, a film noir story, and this I completely overscoped. The film noir bits in between are like 20 minutes already, and of course I need to do a lot of visual effects and green screen and stuff, and it was really too big, but I'm still working on it. Like I said, I still want to get it right and want to get it perfect because it's such a big amount of work that I already poured in there. I don't want to have it go to waste. So yes, I'm still working on this, but not as intense, of course, as I'm working on those other videos, because again, you don't want always to be reminded of the old stuff that you carry around with you. You also want to give yourself some new challenges, and for me, it was this mafia racing video. So if there aren't any more questions, because there sure aren't any more viewers on this stream, cancel culture is real. I would say I will call it a day or a night for today. Usually I've been stream a little bit longer, like 2 or 3 hours, but I don't think there is any more to add. Apart from thank you so much for watching, for sticking with me, for dropping by to this very specific live stream. And I thought maybe it was interesting to some of you, or you have learned something, or if not, it was at least entertaining and it helped you pass the time hearing me talk in another tab as you are doing, I don't know, your homework, essentially. So yes, and of course I have another pet project in the works. I don't want to say anything about it. Well, maybe one thing I can say is it involves getting back to work with Unity, and that's pretty much it. I don't have anything to announce so far, but yes, I'm still very much into making games, so it's not just playing games and making videos about it. But with playing games, I'm in the process of catching up on the old Tex Murphy FMV adventure games. For those who don't know Tex Murphy and FMV, what the hell? FMV is full motion video. It was the biggest craze in the early mid-90s, where finally we had CD-ROM drives and computers almost fast enough to play back full motion video, and the gaming industry really wanted to be Hollywood and made a lot of games with lots of acting by not so good actors or directors. It really looked, 90% of it looked cheap, but it was real video on your computer, and the games underneath were mostly bad. Not so with Tex Murphy. It's a detective story. It's a mix between film noir and Blade Runner. And yeah, it's set in the future, and it's a first-person adventure game, but in between you get these full motion video bits, and where you can also interrogate people. And yeah, it plays less like a LA noir and more a bit like a detective Monkey Island adventure in a sense. So this is what I've been playing. There have been, I think, 5 games since the early 90s, and I played the one from 92, 93 and 96, and now I'm playing the one, or I'm not quite sure about the timeline or the exact years, but yeah, I've been playing all the first ones that were in DOS and had atrocious controls, really atrocious controls, but you get used to it. You have to remember, this was in a time where there was no mouse look or standards like this that we have now. It was, you couldn't move with WASD, you moved by moving your mouse. So when you move your mouse forward, gradually your character would move forward. If you want to move right, of course you move your mouse right. But you ask, Phil, what if I want to look up when I move my mouse up? Yeah, you use the arrow keys on the keyboard. So up when you want to look up, down when you want to look down. But you can't do this at the same time. So yeah, point is, it was horrible. And then of course you could crouch or step on or extend your feet, step on your toes essentially, with a page up and page down. And so yeah, it was horrible. And the third installment that I'm playing, that's for Windows 95 already. It still plays a little bit better, but it controls still like crap. But again, it's just so fun watching all those adventures unfold. And since it's a detective adventure, and it knows that people who are playing detective adventures love detective stuff. I've tweeted this before. This is what my notes look like for just one of those games, because it's just so many things are interconnected with each other. So yeah. I've also tweeted this, I think today before I went to sleep, because it's just insane. But at the same time, I really like how I feel like a detective, finding all those connections and okay, so this could also work for those, and there I see a connection that the game hasn't mentioned yet, but it is there, and so on. So yeah, it makes you feel clever. At least this kind of connections. What I don't really like about it are those many Sudoku-like puzzles that really take like 20 minutes until you have to figure it out, or you know essentially what you need to do, but then it's just trial and error for 15 minutes to get it to work. So this is not as strong. Yeah. So now, congratulations, you got a little bonus short review of the Tex Murphy adventures. No, don't get me wrong. I really enjoy the Tex Murphy stuff. I haven't played any of those before. I only known of them. It's just some funny detective, film noir, science fiction adventure. And I thought, I'm good, thank you. But yeah, just a couple of weeks back, I thought, might give it a try, and I enjoy it, and I'm very, very glad that I finished the first ones with the bad controls, because even with the horrible controls from the Windows 95 version, they are still better than the DOS controls. So I'm not have to go back, which is good. Talking about not going back, I've been just rambling right now, so I think I will call it a night. Again, this video will be archived on YouTube 24 hours after this stream finished, so tomorrow this one will be on YouTube on my channel Full Motion Video, and you probably notice a correlation between Full Motion Video and the channel name, because I'm so incredibly witty. Okay, thank you so much for watching. If there is nothing more from your side, the thing that I can do is have a sip of coffee from my, there we are, Magic of the Unicorn mug. And Kersey Boo says, stream, thumbs up. Thank you so much. I can only say, audience, thumbs up. Have a great week, and see you next Sunday with whatever I've been doing the next week. I don't know yet, but maybe something comes up. As always, this channel is here. Phil does random stuff he would be doing anyway when he's feeling creative on a Sunday evening. Anyway, again, thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and see you next Sunday. Cheers! This was the wrong key. This is the correct key. Okay, cheers. I will try again to switch over to the thanks for watching played. Have a great week. There we go.